Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, executive life coach and master hypnotist. And today I want to go back to a topic we haven't discussed, a ton, but could use a little bit more insight. And, that's people who are struggling with addiction and what a road to recovery with us specifically would really look like for somebody.
Well, yeah, addiction, of course, is a horrible, horrible thing that can happen it really can happen to pretty much anyone because it comes out of nowhere. You don't know you're addicted until you're in the middle of it. And now I'm stuck, and what do I do with it? But as we may have talked about before, just kind of a little reiteration, if you go to something like a 28-day rehab, that's great. You get dried out for 28 days or 30 days, whatever it might be. And you go through that whole process of drying down detox. But then when you come home, what do you face? Well, most people, a lot of people on average, only last about 10 days after rehab. So do the calculations. About $60,000 is what the average cost is today for a 30-day rehab. And then you're maybe sober for another 10 days. So you're paying $60,000 for about 40 days of rehab just to not just relapse, but completely go back to the way you were. Well, what we are looking at is, how do we work through that? Well, you have to have realistic expectations. That's the first thing. If you go into a program expecting that somebody's going to wave a magic wand and suddenly you're going to be, addiction free, you're going to find yourself sorrowfully disappointed and upset. So I help people understand. We tell them you're going to relapse. I'm telling you this because I want you to be prepared. Instead of what can happen is someone who relapses, they start, using their drug of choice or the alcohol, whatever it might be. They really get down on themselves and feel like they have failed so bad that they can't even face going back into their treatment. Like you're going to come see us like twice a week for like say 6 months or whatever. And they just drop out. If you tell them what to expect, then they can come back in and tell you about it. And yeah, they're a little sheepish, a little ashamed. A little bit of, feeling bad about themselves, but at least they can come in, you can talk about it. So we want you to understand that when you have something in your system like a heavy duty drug, especially like these designer drugs, meth and crack and cocaine and fentanyl based stuff, it's instantly meant to make you addicted for life.
Right.
That's just, it rewires the brain and chemicals and such. So you're going to it's going to be a battle, and you're going to think the whole time that I must be doing this wrong or it's not working, because it's not just a day-by-day fight. It's like literally a minute-by-minute fight.
Correct. And I think it's also really important for people to try and actively remember, and I say actively because we can know this stuff all day long, but it needs to stay pretty forefront, is like not much in life is linear, and that definitely applies to something like healing. Even for people that are coming in for non-addictive reasoning, it's not linear. It's not just going to be like, I feel great and more so every single time I walk in that office, just straight up. I wish it worked that way. It doesn't, because there's, emotions, feelings, day to day in between. There's a lot that you have to kind of relearn and rework in order to see long-term growth. And that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at you doing great for 10 days once you leave rehab. We want you doing great for the next 50 years, whatever you've got left, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for full long-term results, and stuff like that needs to kind of be maintained. Obviously, we're not saying see us forever. We don't expect that from anybody, but you need to look at more of a time commitment regardless, because we just need to check in once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever, depends on the situation, to really make sure that we're hitting the bases that we need to hit. And again, just for clarification, yes, people can be addicted to sugar and, weed and cigarettes, whatever it is. We mean the stuff that chemically just gets you stuck. We're not saying someone with a sugar addiction is going to spend 6 months with us sending apology letters. That's not what this is. We're talking about the hard stuff, the stuff that just grabs you and doesn't let you go.
That's a really good point to make, yes. Now, sugar addiction, of course, is hard because you have to eat. And then you have to choose what to eat and what not to eat.
Right.
It's when it comes to drugs, there's just simple choices. No, none. And you think it'd be that easy, but it's just not. The person's mind is in an altered state to where they thoroughly believe that if I don't get this drug again, I'm going to die.
Right.
That's the signal that their brain is sending them, that they must do it again or it's going to be critical. And you believe it because it's very convincing. It tells you everything you need to know, and it just compels your behavior. Next thing you know, you're on your way to purchasing that drug or buying some alcohol or whatever it might be. It's just the way we're made to follow along with what's familiar. That familiar brings comfort. Yes, drug abuse, it becomes familiar and comfortable, and it makes you want to keep on going back and get that first high one more time. Although there'll never be another high equal to the first one. Mm-hmm. They all cascade downward after that. Yep. Until where you've done it so much, it gets no high whatsoever, but you at least get the relief of all of the symptoms. And those symptoms, that the body aches, the headaches, the bad moods, all those kinds of problems that you're experiencing, those are all to compel you to use that drug again. Your mind is convinced that's what we need to get out of this. And you will, temporarily. Mm-hmm. But then you make it a bigger problem. So we have to have understanding that this is what every addict is fighting. They're not just fighting, a little white powder. The powder has no control over them. Their own mind has control over them. There's a big difference in thinking there. They're not under control of the alcohol in the glass. No. Their own mind has convinced them that alcohol in that glass or that powdery drug or whatever it is critical to survival.
Well, and the thing that rehab or like a 30-day rehab like you're talking about is focusing on is just getting you through the withdrawal. And there's so much more to recovery than just withdrawal. Obviously, withdrawal is the most taxing in the moment because you're literally fighting the part of your body that's telling you you're going to die without this, which is what you were talking about. But it's not you just get past withdrawal and it's rainbows and hunky-dory, whatever. The emotional, psychological aspect is still running. It's still there. So you still have to fight that, the wanting to go back to the first one. And I think that's the part that, some programs might miss is that it's not just get you through the initial hard part, because the initial hard part isn't the only hard part. There's every other day after that. And you had to have been in some sort of position to even want to take this drug in the first place that we all know is addictive and could ruin our lives and whatever else and cause early death. We all know this. Not one person tried meth or anything for the first time and didn't know this as an adult. So if you were so mentally and emotionally distressed to do it in the first place, going through withdrawal and making it through that isn't going to make you magically never want to touch it again. Right. And I think that's the part that needs a little bit more care and a little bit more focus placed on it.
Well, that's a very salient point that you're describing there. And if I were to add to it, what is happening? Yes, the mind's critical for survival and all that kind of stuff, driving you back towards that thing again and again. But it's really so much even deeper than that. It becomes a part of who you are now. It becomes part of your identity, that this is something that I use. This is who I am. This is what I am. So it's almost like you're kind of cheating on yourself or letting yourself down by not doing. I mean, the stuff that goes through the people's minds, I know because I talk to them one-on-one and they describe this stuff to me. And it just becomes so difficult, seemingly impossible to overcome, because in the moment, nothing else matters. Literally nothing else on the planet matters.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where everyone's like, yeah, addiction must be really hard. It's honestly a lot harder than people make it sound, especially to someone in the middle of it. And kind of something you touched on earlier is we not only do we expect relapse, but we're not going to shit on you, beat you up, be like, you're dumb, how dare you. Mm-hmm. There's no extra shame or guilt added to a relapse in our office. We're not saying we're congratulations, you relapse, let's start over. That's not what it is. We're just saying, hey, we understand this is part of the process and we will be holding you accountable, but we're not going to make you feel like crap for being in a space where that happens, because it happens. It's part of the process. So it's not just like, you know, blowing smoke up your ass or anything, but it's also not beating you up unnecessarily. It's trying to be as fair as possible for your journey to work for you, because we want to work with you, not against you.
One thing that comes up quite a bit, whether it be, you know, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, food addiction, someone who went to any kind of a inpatient type thing, I've heard so many times people say, I knew that I only had to stick this out for 30 days. Because, see, that time limit is doable for the mind. It's not out. If it was like 30 months or 30 years, the brain would just check out and say, no, we're not doing this. But I can fake it for 30 days. I can fake it until I get out of here. Then I can do whatever I want again. That is what gets a lot of those people through rehab, knowing that there is a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, that they're going to be able to use that thing again very, very soon. And they're kind of counting the days down until they can get out of there and use again.
Yeah, and also just like the reminder that the idea of someone, like a loved one in their life, spending money on them, not going to change anything. You physically can't just be like, oh, I believe in you, like I'm spending this money on you, like you better do well. Like you can say that all day long. They can know that all day long. It's not winning over a chemical addiction, a chemical imbalance, a chemical anything. You know what I mean? Like, I wish the money loss meant more to them if it was their own, somebody else's. You know, it just doesn't work that way. You're not going to like force someone to finally like realize in a bad situation that they need to wake up and stop. Like, yeah, you see that in television, like someone just has this aha moment because something really detrimental happens. That's really not how life works for most people. Like, yeah, there are some people, but there just needs to be an understanding that this is their new master. Like, they are only loyal to this thing and this thing only, and nothing else is really going to snap somebody out of that. So it's not only for the person with the addiction, but the people around them. Like, there needs to just kind of be that understanding.
And I really like that point. And the distinction is understanding, simply understanding what they're going through instead of demonizing them. And it does not mean let them get away with it over and over again. You still have to have the talks. You still have to put safeguards in place. You still have to do everything you can with an understanding that this is what they're going through. It does not mean that we're saying let them just continue to borrow money from you that they're never going to pay back because they're using it for drugs or anything like that. Limit your exposure. Don't be vulnerable to what they're going through, and still be helpful and supportive at the same time.
Yeah, like, don't lie to their PO to save them. Don't hide their drugs for them. This is something, it feels like it should be very black and white, but you're not helping somebody by aiding in their addiction. And that's what we're saying. We're not saying aid. We're not saying elude. We're not saying anything. We're saying figure out what your boundaries are, keep them, but don't also allow it to happen in front of you. That's the biggest mistake, is these people do go through rehab and then they go back to the same people in their lives, mother, father, brother, sister, loved one, whatever. That's like, oh, well, they're doing better. Not when you're still hiding heroin in their lunchbox for them. Like, we're not helping anybody when we're literally watching them actively use and not saying anything about it. You know, like, sometimes you do need to just kind of let that go for a second. Rock bottom needs to be hit for some people, especially in a situation with addiction. It's a necessary evil. Kind of just is. Yeah.
It's a conversation that we can continue on, but I think maybe we'll do another video kind of picking up where this left off. What do you think?
I think so, but just main point of this one, road to recovery will never be linear. It will not be linear. You can't expect it to just like absolutely work and hit the first time. There should really be no shame in someone relapsing as long as they're actively still trying to make those changes, and that should be point one, first and foremost, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of that information.
Oh, my pleasure.
We really hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to learn more, please visit our website or give us a call today. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.